Greetings! John here with a performance analysis for Hitman on PlayStation 4. The days leading up to the release of Hitman have been rather strange. Just this past weekend, for instance, Square Enix gave PlayStation Plus members a chance to try out the beta version of the game. A beta this close to launch seems rather odd, but hey, at least it gives players a chance to sample the game, right? And that's where the trouble begins. For many of us, the beta left a rather sour impression, due mostly to the rather unstable frame rate. We ran into the same thing last month with the previous beta test, where the frame rate was all over the place, with values ranging from 60 frames per second all the way down to 20. If you were turned off by the sluggish performance in this beta and thinking about skipping the game, listen up. Defying our expectations, the game's developer has basically fixed most of these issues. Okay, so it's not perfect, but the wild swings we saw in the beta have been eliminated here. Beyond that, there's also a nice surprise hidden in the options menu, which we'll look at in a moment. Right from the start, we noticed that the average frame rate is a whole lot higher than it was before. Even the full crowd scenes on the boat here managed to stay above 30 frames per second. So Hitman really isn't an action game, but the game just feels a lot nicer to play now with a more stable frame rate. Jumping over to the second training stage, we actually see a relatively stable 60 frames per second now. There's no large crowds here, so that probably helps, but it looks and feels great at 60 frames per second. And at this point, we were feeling pretty good about the uncapped frame rate. Unfortunately, once we hit the meat of the game here in Paris, things took a turn for the worse. This is a huge, much more detailed map than the training levels, and as a result, we do see generally lower performance all around. Keep in mind that in this map, nearly every room within the building can be explored, and many of those rooms house huge crowds of people. Also, the grounds around the building can be fully explored as well. Even with this huge map, however, performance typically sits above 30 frames per second, which is great, but the frame rate never really comes close to hitting 60 frames per second here either. Longtime viewers might recall that I'm not the biggest fan of unlocked frame rates. The variation in performance hurts the consistency of the experience and leads to something that feels less polished overall. I've always felt that if a game cannot maintain 60 frames per second the majority of the time, that a locked 30 frames per second is the better alternative. Which is why I was thrilled to discover that IO Interactive has actually included a frame rate cap in the final game. I'm not sure if the developers heard our pleas or were planning to include it all along, but it's a relief to find the option tucked in there. So how does the game hold up with the 30 FPS cap? The opening mission now turns in a nearly perfect locked 30 FPS experience with the cap enabled. When unlocked, the fluctuations in performance always stand out. You notice rooms that run smoother than others, and it can prove distracting. When capped at 30 FPS, however, you quickly stop thinking about the frame rate and just enjoy the game. Okay, but as we've seen, these training missions are nothing compared to the massive size and scale of the Paris map, and it's here that the advantage of the 30 FPS cap becomes most apparent. The experience is overwhelmingly smooth here most of the time, aside from the occasional hitch, which occurs whether the frame rate is locked or unlocked. So that's really the state of affairs here. Performance is greatly improved over the beta, and players are able to choose whether they want to cap the frame rate or not. It's an option we love seeing and feel that IO deserves credit here for implementing this prior to launch. That said, there is one additional issue here that bears a mention: loading times. This isn't an issue for the training missions, especially since much of the loading is concealed behind pre-rendered videos, which, by the way, no longer skip and stutter as they did in the beta. No, the loading only becomes apparent when you jump into the Paris mission. It takes well over a full minute, closing in on 2 minutes to load this area, and there is nothing to look at aside from a basic loading screen. Check it out. Okay, no, we're not going to bore you with that. Just know that it takes quite a long time to finish. Thankfully, this issue only pops up when you first load the map. If you fail a mission and have to retry, for instance, the loading time after that is much faster. Still, aside from this loading issue, Hitman is pretty solid technically. The Glacier 2 engine has enjoyed some nice enhancements here, and the performance is no longer an issue on PlayStation 4. If you're considering the game, rest assured that the experience is pretty solid on Sony's platform. Anyways, that about wraps up this video. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is John, signing off.
Mister, you are currently trespassing in a restricted area. Please stand still, buddy. Okay, I'm trying one more time, sir. You need to follow me right now. Okay, sir? Free to go.